Good evening and welcome to tonight's Undaunted, bringing to the news on church stories. I am Oyin Okbala. Let's begin. 12 passengers have reportedly been abducted by suspected gunmen along the Batibo-Widikum road, raising fresh concerns over the safety of travelers using the route. The incident has heightened fears among residents and road users, with renewed calls for stronger security measures to curb kidnappings and protect civilians. Residents in Buea have protested prolonged electricity outages, blocking roads and expressing frustration over the impact of unreliable power supply on households and businesses. Meanwhile, Kumbo continues to grapple with a deteriorating security situation, with reported kidnappings and armed attacks creating widespread fear and disrupting normal life. On the other hand, in Great Soppo, police and trade officials have intervened in a dispute over gas prices as tensions grow between traders and consumers over the cost of the essential commodity. All these and more we will have on tonight's Undaunted. But first, the prime headlines. Undaunted, suspected gunmen abduct 12 passengers along Batibo-Widikum road. Also tonight, Buea residents protest prolonged power outage and block roads. Tonight, Kumbo under siege as kidnappings fear and insecurity escalates. Tonight, police trade officials intervene in Great Soppo gas price dispute. South Africa seeks reimbursement from Nigeria, Malawi, and Ethiopia for migrant repatriations is on the African scene. While on the global scene, Putin visits disputed Kuril Islands, prompting protests from Japan. Now let's get the news in full briefings. Suspected gunmen intercepted several transport vehicles along the Batibo-Widikum road on Wednesday morning and abducted 12 passengers, according to local sources. The incident occurred as the vehicles were traveling along the road, with the attackers reportedly taking the passengers into captivity. Sources said some of the abducted passengers have since been released, while others remain in captivity. A ransom is reportedly being demanded for the release of those still being held. Efforts were ongoing to secure the freedom of the remaining passengers as authorities and other stakeholders work to establish the circumstances surrounding the incident. The latest abduction adds to growing security concern along the Batibo-Widikum corridor, a route linking communities in southern Cameroon. All right, tonight we are being joined by our very own in-house analyst, Barrister Mbesha. Barrister, welcome to tonight's Undaunted.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Barrister, the issue on the Batibo-Widikum road, what would be your thoughts on that?
Well, again, Batibo-Widikum road is just a symptom of the generalized insecurity in Amazonia. And when it becomes a rule that people are adopted, pulled out from vehicles, and money extorted from them without any question asked. You ask why. There are only two reasons why those things can happen. The first reason is that first, we don't even know the people to call them unknown gunmen. And we must remember that the acquisition of firearms is so difficult in Cameroon. So how did firearms get spread to everywhere, where everybody has the guns, to catch everybody they like? And in Cameroon language, you say a government has the monopoly of arms. They have the monopoly of force. Since when was this monopoly mortgaged to private people? If they are not private, it goes to the point I want to make now. If they are not private individuals, they are people acting with the complicity of the government. Otherwise, if they are not acting with the complicity of the government, why is the government not stopping them? Because the primary function of a government anywhere in the world is to ensure the security of its own people. And so they cannot ensure the security of these people in Batibo-Widikum Road or anywhere else in Amazonia. They have failed woefully. And if you have failed woefully, what is the reason? The reason is that they are no longer in control. Is there something you can look up to and call it the government in Yaoundé that can ensure any security, protection of you and me, or any other person? The answer certainly is no. And therefore, they either accept the responsibility that they are complicit or they are active participants, or they have failed. And if they have failed, what else is left of the people in Batibo? What else is left of any other community in Amazonia to do? You have to provide your own security. That corridor is not even a very large area. They cannot complain that it's large for them. I'm told that they have some drones, they have surveillance cameras, they have everything that they can use. Why are they not using this? Is this new? It is not new in Africa. Remember the story of the 300 girls abducted from a boarding school in Nigeria by Boko Haram without any trace. Can that happen again? This is what is repeating itself in Amazonia. And so again, I insist, it is highly possible that government is responsible, directly or indirectly. But if they insist they are not responsible, then they must admit one fact, that they've lost control of Amazonia. And when you lose control of a particular community, call it Amazonia, Batibo, or any other place, the essence of government has ceased to exist. And therefore, Amazonians worldwide, in terms of the geographical location, have to take into their own hands their own responsibilities. You have to protect yourself, and you can. It is possible for you to do it. Don't give up to these people who are all criminals by their action, who are criminal by their silence to the action, who are complicit in everything that is going on. Because we're not hearing this same thing repeat itself somewhere else in Cameroon, in Douala, in Yaoundé, in Garoua, wherever. They are not doing the same thing. And therefore, again, arms, the ownership of arms is the monopoly of government. If you have to get arms, you have to get a license to do it. And therefore, if these private individuals have arms, where will license them to carry the arms? And if they are not licensed, why are they not being prosecuted? Over and over again, we insist Amazonia is no longer part of that country. By their own making, they have shown us that they are not part of us. They cannot ensure the security of an ordinary person traveling in a bus. They cannot ensure the security of anybody going to the farm or coming back from the market. And therefore, that government has failed, and Amazonia must be free. Over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister. Still on insecurity, let's get into Kumbo, where Kumbo is facing a worsening security crisis that has been marked by frequent nightmare, not just nightmare, but kidnappings by unknown gunmen, armed and masked gunmen. Residents say people are increasingly afraid to display signs of wealth, renovate their homes, or engage in activities that could attract attention, as such actions may reportedly make them targets for ransom demands. The insecurity is also affecting businesses and major institutions, with some reportedly reducing operations or leaving the area for safety. Residents say victims risk losing their lives when families cannot meet ransom demands, while many are uncertain about where to seek protection. Now, the situation has created widespread fear, disrupted economic activity, and made everyday life increasingly difficult. Residents are appealing for urgent and effective intervention to protect lives, restore security, and prevent further displacement in Kumbo. Now, Kumbo is not just the first time we're reading about it. Even over the week, last week, we read so much about Kumbo being in the kidnappers' den. And it's so sad that into another week, we're hearing a lot about Kumbo. Barrister, let's get your point.
Well, again, Kumbo is always important. And remember that Kumbo has been in the forefront of this struggle since it started in 2016. And so again, this is home to Mr. Wilbur, who said, if you bring all your soldiers, you cannot defeat the people of Kumbo. And that was true. Now they have been doing it for 9 years. They have failed to defeat the people of Kumbo by arms. They have built all the military bases there. They have not subdued Kumbo. What do they have to do? They tend to this subterfuge, this approach of hiring people, paying them to do the dirty job for them. And that's exactly what they are doing. Kumbo by itself is not a very large place. I'm not sure that those kidnappers are even strangers. They are local boys hired by Tanganji or their affiliates and put there to terrorize the people because they've realized and accepted that a military victory is not possible in Kumbo. What do? You do a moral breakdown. You try to destroy the people morally so they should think that they can no longer live without you. But again, this is Kumbo. This is what they are doing. Again, like the last segment, it is the government actively doing it or indirectly doing it. Otherwise, let them hold the people accountable. In Kumbo in particular, they have all the military bases. They have the gendarmerie points. They have the police. They have the B. They have even the warders who are part of their security. And if this is still going on in Kumbo, therefore government must be responsible. Have they learned something from the 9 years of occupation? They have not learned anything. Wilbur spoke for less than 10 minutes. And he made the story. You cannot defeat Kumbo militarily. It is 10 years today, they have not defeated Kumbo. Wilbur didn't need to go to another university to come and tell them that story. They have lived it, they have paid the price by themselves, but they are so arrogant to accept defeat and walk away. And since they cannot accept, they don't want to accept the defeat and walk away. They want to deal with the people in a different manner. And that is exactly what is going on in Kumbo. They are hiring local guys. There's no doubt about that. Because in the majority of cases, unless they are the armed soldiers, those are local boys recruited there and paid by the government. There's all this story out there. It is well written in the document everywhere, where government recruits people. They call them vigilante, call them Atanganji boys, call them any name. They are government recruited. And therefore, again, this is Kumbo. They will not defeat Kumbo. If they have any lesson to learn, they would have learned that they cannot defeat Kumbo militarily. By extension, they cannot defeat Ambazonia militarily. Therefore, resorting to what they are doing is a sign of defeat. It's a total sign of defeat. Because how many more people will you terrorize privately? You can capture 10, like in Batibo, take 10 people into custody, take money from them. There are still thousands of other Batibo people there. There are still thousands of people in Buea. And so again, this is one of the reasons why we fight. This is one of the reasons we tell the world that these people have deceived us. They have made us a tool for exploitation. They have made us a tool for whatever thing they want to do. They think that they can kill us, they can abduct us, they can extort from us without any question asked. Again, enough is enough. Time comes that we must say enough, and we have said enough. We shall continue to fight until we liberate ourselves. Over to you.
All right. Barrister, that's not all. Let's head to Buea, where residents of Outage and Bunduma in Buea County took to the streets on Tuesday to protest what has been tagged as a prolonged electricity outages in their community. Protesters blocked the upper Bunduma Road and the road linking Buea to Limbe through Sase, disrupting movement along the route. Let's get a video of that. Residents said their communities had been without electricity for several weeks, prompting them to demand the restoration of power. Police intervened shortly after the protest began and cleared the barricades from the affected roads. The demonstrations came amid a resurgence of electricity-related protests in Buea after similar disruptions were reported across several communities in and around the city in late 2025. At the time, residents also staged protests over prolonged blackouts, following which electricity supply was restored in some affected areas. The latest protests have shown concerns over what has been called reoccurring power outages and their impact on residents and businesses across Buea. Barrister, Buea last month had a serious protest. Today, they are also protesting about blackouts. Remember, used to be Bamenda protesting 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, and the students protesting as well. But today, this is not the first time we are getting these reports anyways. And it's good that the people can come out to ensure that their voices are heard in what can be tagged as the worst situation that people can find themselves in, especially in a world where people cannot survive without electricity. People cannot survive without power. Let's get your thoughts.
Again, as you've said, this is not the first time. We've heard about protests about electricity left and right. In Ambazone, in Bamenda, in Manfe, everywhere, the same story is told. I said the blog road, remember, for those who don't know, Buea has only 2 access roads, only 2. The city of Buea has only one. You can only come to Buea through my 17 passing through Mondoma. When you're going to Douala, when you're going to Limbe, that's the only way you can get into Buea. Or the alternative, the only access way, which is not so possible, is from Sase through small Soppo, and you come out in Buea. And Buea is a very big town. Besides that, it's significant, it's the capital of Ambazonia. How can this big town have only 2 access impassable roads? But back to the lights. We've been analyzing lights here for a long time. But let me take it a little bit different. If you see from those pictures, women are sitting on their buttocks, on the mud, to ask for light. How long shall we allow our wives, our mothers, our grandmothers to become targets? Look at pregnant women sitting on the bare floor to ask for what is rightfully theirs. Light is not a privilege. Water is not a privilege. That's the source of life. And so if people reduce themselves to that level, where are we heading to? Do we need to analyze light more? We have talked about light a million times over. Since when did it become necessary for us to get lights all the way from there for Buea, rather than develop the plant in Moyoka, which is just 20 kilometers from there? And I've said, Buea, like any other town in Ambazina, is surrounded by rivers, it's surrounded by streams. We can make water, we can make electricity. But we're not allowed to do it. Rather, they destroy what we had, what Powercom had just a few kilometers away from there. And they impose on us unworkable light supply from there. Why not from Yaoundé? So they can switch off the thing at any time they want. They can punish you at any time you want. The next you will find they were protesting against who? We don't know. There's electric company right there, they're not even protesting against them. You see the policeman sitting there, does the policeman have the right, the possibility of giving you electricity? No. The next you find there is that we're talking to a certain guy they call Dio, they call him Papa Dio, who come to say our Papa to give us light. How, since when did we reduce ourselves to these beggars? Since when were we reduced to this level of inhumanity? One must ask. That my mother will sit down and beg for light from a small rascal called Dio, who wears a khaki shirt, Who doesn't even have the power to give light? To beg for water from a rascal wearing a one week policeman who doesn't even have the power to give you water, he doesn't have the power to give you anything. But we sit there crying our foul and calling them our papa. But the most important thing is that from your story, thereafter some lights were supplied. It means that it was cut off. If the lights could come back after a protest, it meant that they were simply switched off. Why do you make light a bargaining chip? That you have to use lights to punish people, to extort what you want from people. Extortion is not necessarily money. You can extort obedience. You extort submission. You extort the people's vote to say that you are ruling them, that you are providing them what is supposed to be provided. No, no. Where is the mayor of Buea? Where is the prefect of Fako? Where are all these big heads right there? Where is Madame Naluva, who comes from Buea there? Where is Monsonge, whose place is less than 2 kilometers from Mondoma? Where are they? What are these fellows doing in Yaoundé? They are there in the name of Bakwere. They are there in the name of Fako. They are there in the name of something they call Southwest. Shame unto them. Where are these people? This is the headquarters of Buea. Monsonge comes from there. He's a Buea guy. Madame Nalova, the minister, comes from there. Dr. Njoma comes from there. All of them who are big crown wearers in Yaoundé are from Buea. Our people in Buea cannot have simple lights. If they cannot have simple water, what else can you promise them? If they had their mothers and parents and husbands, I hope they too will be sitting in the streets. That is an awful sight for us to see. Asking for what? Asking for light, which is essentially the right to have light. Because they are not giving you light for nothing. They are providing you light for you to pay. They are not giving you water for nothing. They are providing you water for you to pay. And then you have to go down sitting on your buttocks, sitting on the mud, begging them to give you what is right for the years. No, enough is enough. We must put an end to this nonsense. We must rebuild where it is possible. If it is not possible, we'll start it over again. Over to you.
Thank you so much. I agree with you. We have to put an end to all of this. But before then, we need to get into Great Soppo, where the police and the trade officials have intervened in what has been tagged as a confrontation between residents and a cooking gas retailer accused of attempting to sell domestic gas at nearly twice the approved price. The dispute reportedly erupted after a retailer attempted to sell a cylinder of cooking gas supplied at the approved price of 6,600 francs CFA for 12,000 francs CFA. Angered by the alleged price increase, residents blocked the gas truck and prevented access to the retailer's shop, demanding that the product be sold at the officially approved price. The situation drew the attention of police officers, the local brigade commander, and officials from the divisional delegation who arrived at the scene to restore calm and address the dispute. Following their intervention, customers who possessed valid purchase tickets were reportedly permitted to obtain the gas at 6,600 francs CFA, bringing a temporary end to the confrontation. Trade officials subsequently warned retailers against charging prices above those approved by the authorities and against deliberately creating artificial scarcity in order to force consumers to pay more. They reportedly stressed that traders found violating the prescribed price could face sanctions. The incident, however, shows a much broader problem confronting households across the southern Cameroons: the growing difficulty of securing basic necessities amid economic hardship, insecurity, and disruptions to normal commercial activities. For many families, cooking gas is no longer simply a household commodity, but an essential expense that directly affects food security. When gas becomes unavailable or is sold at inflated prices, households are forced to search for alternatives, including firewood and charcoal, adding financial and environmental pressure to already struggling communities. The gas dispute comes against the backdrop of years of instability in the English-speaking areas of the southern Cameroons. The war between the government forces and the southern Cameroons has severely disrupted everyday life in many communities, with civilians bearing much of the burden. Residents in parts of the area continues to contend with insecurity, movement restrictions, disrupted education, damaged businesses, unemployment, and reduced economic opportunities. Farmers and traders have also faced difficulties moving goods between communities, while periodic lockdowns and insecurities have interrupted commercial activities and access to roads. Now, the education sector has been particularly affected too. In many communities, children and young people have experienced prolonged interruptions to schooling, while families have had to make difficult situations and decisions about whether they can safely send children to school. Healthcare access has also remained a concern in communities affected by insecurity, movement difficulties, shortages of personnel and resources, and the destruction or closure of some facilities have made access to medical services more difficult for vulnerable residents. How about business? Meanwhile, businesses have struggled to operate in an environment characterized by uncertainties. Small traders, transport operators, farmers, and other informal sector workers are particularly vulnerable because their livelihoods depend heavily on the ability to move freely and trade without disruption. Rising cost of survival on the other hand. And so the cooking gas controversy, therefore, reflects more than a disagreement over a few thousand CFA francs for families living on limited incomes. An increase from 6,600 CFA to 12,000 CFA represents a substantial additional burden. Residents say authorities must ensure that regulated commodities actually reach consumers at the approved prices, and that traders who exploit shortages should be held accountable. At the same time, the authorities face the difficult task of addressing the underlying causes of scarcity. Because when a goods is scarce, of course, that is what you would notice, which also includes distribution challenges, insecurity, disruptions to transportation, and commerce. The Great Soppo incident ended with the intervention of the authorities, but the frustration expressed by residents points to a deeper reality for many people in the southern Cameroons. The struggle is no longer only about the price of cooking gas. It is about the rising cost of surviving amidst prolonged insecurity and economic hardship. The immediate priority, residents say, is for authorities to guarantee the availability of essential commodities, enforce official prices, and protect consumers from exploitation while addressing the wider conditions that continues to undermine livelihoods across the southern Cameroons. Barrister, you could see the make a goods scarce and then come at the other end to double of the price. And we use this opportunity to pinpoint all of the challenges these people would have to go through every other day. They go through these challenges every other day, and then they do not have the means to eat. We just saw reports where they are struggling with insecurity, reports where they are struggling to get power, and down reports where they struggle to get gas for cooking. And at the end of the day, you're seeing difficulties all around everyone in the southern Cameroon, everyone residing in southern Cameroons. And one would ask, what kind of life are they living? Barrister, over to you.
Well, they are living the life of punishment, permanent, perpetual government punishment. I say and insist, government punishment. In the last segment, we talked about lights. Light is an essential element of survival. Just like cooking gas, because we cannot become animals, we eat cooked food. Cooked food, cooking food is essential. It is not even essential, it is the most important thing you need if you have to survive. And why is this not happening to people in Buea? Why is it happening to people in Amazonia, in short, in the northwest and southwest? Where there's scarcity, the prices will go high. So there's no way you can come and say you're controlling the sellers. If they have scarcity, Only people who can afford the money will buy at a higher price. But why is there scarcity of gas in Buea? Why is there scarcity of gas in Bamenda? Remember about 8 months, 9 months ago, before the last presidential elections, October 26, 2025, something happened. I think I remember saying something here. The government mounted something. They called that they were going to put a gas plant in Kumbo, where gas would be bottled and sold to the whole Southwest. They also said they were putting a gas plant in Bamenda, where they're going to bottle gas there and sell it to the people of the Northwest. I remember asking the question, where was the gas plant for Bafusam, the gas plant from Bunda, the gas plant for other towns in East Cameroon? There was none. So these people have known this trick, that these are things that make us survive. And then they sell it as a political weapon. And you ask yourself, where is the gas plant they put in Kumba about a year ago? If the gas plant is functioning, why would people in Buea not have gas? Where's the gas plant they put in Bamenda at the same time? It all happened within a month. If it is functioning, then why should people in Bamenda not have the same gas? And so you find them there bringing policemen and said the traders have committed a crime. They might have committed a crime, that's their own language. No, they are committing a crime. If they are inflating the prices illegally, what will happen? They should be prosecuted. But has anybody been prosecuted? No. Well, these people came to maintain the peace. They are the policemen who are supposed to arrest the sellers and hand them over prosecution if they are committing any crime. But they will not do that. They will come there. If those people sitting there were ambassador fighters, the suspect, they will come and kill you. And so again, since when was the last time you saw a gas rebellion, called the Coking Gas Rebellion in Bafusam, Coking Gas Rebellion in Garowa, Coking Gas Rebellion in Baturi or Betua? None. Why only Buea? I think 2 weeks ago they were in Bamenda. They say you have to have the red bottle or all that nonsense in order to get gas. It is all collective punishment meted on our people. If they cannot defeat us militarily, they will defeat us morally. Because at the very least, even an Amazonian fighter, you need to eat food before you go and fight. You don't eat raw food. If they starve you with no gas, if the leg what you have in your fridge get bad without electricity, they think they will be tired. We will no longer resist against the occupation. No, that is what the gas story is all about. It is rationing from Yaoundé. All those gas things, they come from Douala. How far is Douala from Bafusam? Sorry, from Buea? That's about 40 kilometers. That's 30 miles. How far is Douala, which sends the same gas to Bafusam? About 300 kilometers. And why are they not having gas problem in Bafusam? That's our regional headquarters, they call it. Why are they not having it in Chang? Why are they not having it in Adair? Why only Buea? Why only Kumba? And so on and so forth. It is a collective punishment calculatedly meted on us to punish us for the resistance. If you cannot succumb to the gun, you will succumb to hunger. If you do not die of hunger, you become so weak even to fight them. And so that is what the language is all about. And I ask again, where is the gas plant they planted in Kumba on the eve of presidential elections, which was calculated to make Paul Biya win, which according to them he won? How many bottles has the gas plant in Kumba produced? How many bottles of gas has the gas refilling station in Bamenda produced ever since? Zero, if anything at all. And so again, this is collective punishment from light to gas, from light gas to water. The story is the same. Why did we join these people if at all we did? To go through this, to have no food to eat. Not because we cannot farm, but because they refuse us the food. To have no road to drive on, not because we don't know how to dig roads, but because they carry away all our construction equipment. To have no hospital to go to, not because we don't have good boys and girls who could go to medical schools, but because they rationalize it and give us what they want. And so the story is the same 1,000 times over and over again. How long shall we repeat this story? For the doubting Thomases to see that the die is cast. This nonsense has gone on too long. There's only so much we can do to survive. And there's no duplicate for life. What cooking food is part of life, drinking water is part of life, having electricity is part of life. We cannot die all. We have to resist and we continue to resist all this nonsense until this occupation comes to an end. If by the time it comes to an end, there's no more gas, we will use firewood. If there's no more firewood, we shall use kerosene. But we'll have to start from somewhere by saying that, look, we have been subdued too long. We have been punished too often. Enough is enough. I've said many times before. We'll come to the end. We must be free. Over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister. And with that report, we've come to the end of tonight's report from the home front. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on Undaunted.
Thank you for having me.
When we return from the break, we'll head into Africa, where South Africa seeks reimbursement from Nigeria, Malawi, and Ethiopia for migrant repatriations. South Africa has asked Nigeria, Malawi, and Ethiopia to reimburse the cost of repatriating their citizens as the country intensifies its crackdown on illegal migration. South Africa's Department of Home Affairs says it has spent nearly $18 million accommodating and transporting immigrants who were deported or voluntarily returned to their home countries amid rising tensions over illegal migration. Officials told lawmakers that the government has formally written to Nigeria, Malawi, and Ethiopia seeking compensation for the expenses, which included transportation, temporary repatriation centers, and staff overtime. Home Affairs Director General Chomi Makode described the expenditure as unforeseen and unavoidable, noting that some municipalities and government departments involved in the operations are also seeking reimbursement from the Home Affairs Department because the costs were not included in their budgets. Home Affairs Minister Leon Schreiber has described the recent wave of deportations and repatriations as unprecedented. Government figures indicate that 82,875 people have either been voluntarily repatriated or departed since immigration tensions escalated, although figures from migrants' home governments put the number at approximately 178,000. Between April and July alone, 16,708 people, mainly nationals of Lesotho, Malawi, Tanzania, Zimbabwe, and Mozambique were deported through the Lindley Repatriation Center. South African authorities have also intensified law enforcement operations targeting illegal immigration and related offenses. Officials said nearly 60,000 undocumented immigrants were held under crackdown. The crackdown comes amid protests by anti-illegal immigration groups who accuse foreign nationals of contributing to unemployment, crime, and pressure on public services. The tensions have also triggered diplomatic concerns, with some African governments accusing South Africa of failing to adequately protect their citizens, an allegation Pretoria has rejected. Ghana recently sought to have the situation in South Africa placed on the agenda of an upcoming African Union meeting, but the proposal was rejected by the continental body. The growing number of deportations and the multi-million-dollar cost of repatriations are now adding a financial dimension to an already sensitive regional immigration disputes. Well, while we return from the break, we'll head into the globe where Putin visits disputed Creole Islands, prompting protests from Japan. Russian President Vladimir Putin has visited the Kuril Islands for the first time, making a high-profile trip to territory claimed by both Russia and Japan and prompting a formal protest from Tokyo. Putin traveled to Outage, one of the southernmost islands in the Pacific island chain, on Thursday. During the visit, he toured a fish processing plant, a hospital, and a school, and briefly interacted with local residents. He also met with Valery Limarenko, governor of Russia's Sakhalin region, which administers the island. The visit has renewed attention on a long-standing territorial dispute between Russia and Japan. Tokyo claims sovereignty over the four southernmost islands of the Kuril chain, which Japan refers to as the Northern Territories. The Soviet Union seized the islands from Japan in the final days of World War II. The territorial dispute has remained unresolved for decades and has been a major obstacle to the two countries formally concluding a post-war peace treaty. Japan has consistently maintained its claim to the islands, while Russia considers them part of its sovereign territory. Putin visits is therefore likely to be reviewed in Tokyo as a significant political and symbolic statement. The Russian leader's trip comes amid continued tensions between Moscow and Tokyo, adding another layer to relations that have already been strained by Russia's broader confrontation with the West. The dispute over the islands remains one of the longest-running territorial disagreements in East Asia, with both countries continuing to defend their respective claims. And that's it for tonight's Undaunted. But before we go, let's take a look at the stories that made it to tonight's headlines. Tonight on Undaunted, we told you that suspected gunmen abduct 12 passengers along Batibo-Widikum Road. Also tonight, Buea residents protest prolonged power outage and block roads. Tonight, we told you that Kumbo is under siege as kidnappings, fear and insecurity escalate, while police trade officials intervene in Great Soppo gas disputes. Also tonight, on the African scene, we told you that South Africa seeks reimbursement from Nigeria, Malawi, and Ethiopia for migrant repatriations, while on the global scene, Putin visits disputed Kuril Islands, prompting protest from Japan. That's it for tonight's Undaunted. On behalf of our in-house analyst, Barrister Mbesha, and a team of technicians behind tonight's production, is good night and God bless you.